Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Communities Live here on Sheffield Live 93.2 FM. And we have singer-songwriter here, Joelle Charan. Good afternoon.
Hi, Chris. So nice to see you today.
It's good to see you too. So, for our listeners at home, give us a bit of background. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I released a new song on the 1st of September called "Forgive Me." It's a song I wrote in New York, and I co-produced it with John Reynolds in London, who is a really cool producer. He's known for his work with U2, Ryan, Sinead O'Connor. That's
Oh,
cool. So we co-produced it in London. I wrote it in New York. It was based on an argument I had with my mum when she came to visit me, and I felt really bad about the argument. I just wanted things to be okay again, and I was walking down the avenue in the rain, and I just had this sudden burst of inspiration to write this song. So that's how it came about. Yeah, it's a very personal song in that matter.
I'll have to ask, you said the song's called Forgive Me. And, how long did it actually take together? Was it quite a long process or did it come together quite quickly?
So it's a song. I always try to do something new in the songs that I write. I am in love with Indian instruments from my roots, but also with Western orchestration, like Strauss. So I wanted to experiment with the French horn for this song, which is a really beautiful instrument, a brass instrument. I just layered it with a musician, a French horn player, and we wrote lines. We arranged it as a really nice sort of wave that you hear through the song. I also listened to Laura Mvula's first album with the Metropole Orchestra. So and her version of Father Father on that album is amazing. So I sort of used that as inspiration for the outro of Forgive Me, which is like a very thick, layered solo French horn outro, which sounds almost like an orchestra. So, but it was just one person, so that's a nice thing to know. And the piano is very fragile. It's sort of a very lonely song because in the moment I wrote the song, when I was having the argument with my mom, I felt very lonely. I was a very long way from home, all the way in New York, and I remember being very lonely then. I wanted to write that. So I used that theme and that emotion to think of the instruments I wanted to use. So yeah, that's kind of how the song came about.
And I've got to ask her, Joel. As a singer, who are your main influences?
Mm. As a singer, I mean, so many great artists. It's really hard to pick one. I do really love the way Nora Jones writes. Sarah McLaughlin, I think, is amazing. Laura Mvula, Liana Lahavas, Prince as a
Oh,
singer.
Prince,
Yeah,
legend.
legendary indeed. I also love musical theater. I love how they sing. They are absolutely, there are some amazing singers in musical theater. So yeah, a lot of inspiration, very broad. I also love Shreya Ghoshal, which is an Indian singer. She's very famous in Indian circles, and she's really amazing. Such a good voice, really amazing. So for me, I guess a singer touches me when the music is there, the singing is there. It's all fitting,
Yeah, yeah.
it fits perfectly, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing.
And
So, yeah.
we mentioned a few influences, but
Yeah.
if there was anybody that you could work with, I mean, new or old, in the near future, who could it be and why?
So it's pretty cliche, but I've always wanted to work with John Mayer because I think he's amazing. Especially his songwriting. Just his lyrics are always very like to the point. I feel very. They always touch me. Yeah, he's written some amazing songs, and really, like, if you have Pino Palladino, these kind of musicians to work with, it's like I've seen him I think 4 times live,
Right.
and it was always such a good show, very musical, and yeah, he's really about the music. It's not, yeah, he's just um I think his songs are very unique and very interesting to hear. But I also love some like jazz songwriters. I really love the way some artists blend, like Jamie Cullum, for example.
Mhm.
I mean, he's a really good jazz artist, but also the way he approaches cover music is really interesting. So I definitely like to work with him as well. Yeah, Nora Jones would be great because these are like pianist singers like myself, so I can sort of learn from them. Nora Jones also writes really like very intimate songs, very like I would love to put it on like when I'm doing yoga or in the background. It's always very calm and beautiful, but it's never aggressive or in your face. And I think that's very interesting in the way she writes. So yeah, those are kind of like some people I'd like to work with.
And I mean, for our listeners who want to break into music industry, tell us how difficult is it, and also what advice would you give to our listeners who want to break into this kind of industry?
I mean, it's just really, really tough. I think you should only do it if you really feel the need to do it. Um, if you can't live without music, to say it like that, because it is a really long. You need a really long breath
Yeah.
before you get somewhere, let alone get famous. Yeah, so if you have the need, yeah, sort of urge in your soul to make music for the rest of your life, then you should do it. um because me personally, I felt that, but otherwise it's you just give up, I suppose, because it's so hard. There's so much competition and so many artists already here, so it's a very satisfied market music industry. So yeah, it's just hard. You have to do your own thing, and it's also very easy to get lost in comparing yourself with other artists, I think. And you just shouldn't do that. You should really just focus on what makes your music special, what makes you different,
Mm.
and what makes you unique, and not do what everybody else does, basically. So I think that's important to find your place in the music industry. Um, yeah, I mean there are some like platforms now. I think you have like Groover and Submit Hub. They're pretty low profile. You can just It's not very expensive. You can like pitch your music to blogs and press and radio stations, and that's kind of a low profile start to get things going for yourself, I think.
And I mean, if you could tell anybody, I mean, for our listeners at home, I mean, you've got a new single just coming out. Is there any future projects that you're currently working on that you can tell us a little bit about, or is it all secretive at the moment?
Yeah. Well, I'm pursuing two paths. One is releasing new music. So I have an album coming up, which is actually like a collection of songs about my growth as a person, as a young woman, about learning in life and experiencing things. Yeah, so it's kind of like my collection of very personal songs. And forgive me, my new single is the first single on the album because it was so crucial for my personal growth to go through the loneliness I felt when I was living in New York. And so I co-produced the whole album with John Reynolds in London, as I mentioned. So really excited about that because it was such an honor to work with him. And apart from that, I'm booking some gigs, some new gigs for the new year with my booker, and we're pitching for festivals, venues like how do you say this in English? My English bad. Like if you are supporting slots for other artists. So we're trying to get that, but it's very hard, of course. Maybe for some summer gigs in England. But we'll have to see what happens and what not. It would be nice.
And will there be any chance of you coming to Sheffield at one point?
Yes, I'm actually going in April, so that would be nice. I would love to do a live show at Sheffield Live. That'd be great.
So I would love you to come and join me. That would be
That'd be
fantastic.
nice. Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm in the neighborhood. I'm doing some gigs in Point and Cheshire and Lincolnshire, I think. So it's kind of like right in the middle of the like close to the Peak District. So that would be really nice. I am definitely driving through.
And I mean, for our listeners at home who want to follow you on social media, do you have like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook?
So I have Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, Ben's in Town. I kind of have all the major platforms. My music is on all digital streaming platforms as well. So whatever your preference is, Deezer, Spotify, Shazam, anything, it's all there. And Apple Music, Amazon Music as well. So yeah, if you're into, I always love to hear from people. I always love to hear what people think of my music, if they when they've listened to it. I'm very excited about hearing all these ideas. It's always very lovely. Just like the other week there, I had this this man approached me on Instagram. He had heard my music and he said, I'm a yoga teacher. And he said, wow, this is so amazing for my yoga classes. I was like, wow, that's great. You know, so cool.
I mean, we mentioned how people can get a digital copy, like Apple Music, Spotify. So, is there any opportunities for our listeners that we can get a physical copy of a song?
Yeah, I actually have real CDs. If you want one, I can send you one. Of course, that'd be
Yeah, that would
nice.
be great. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, you have to give me your address after the show, and I will send you a CD, of course.
Thank you very much, Joelle. And my final question for you is for our listeners at home, have you got anything that you would like to say to our audience?
Oh well, I'm really honored by anyone who is willing to listen to my music. It's very special to me, and I the reason I make music is to touch people's hearts, to make them happy. That's sort of for me the very simple yet I think beautiful reason that you make music your whole life, to make people happy, to just give them some distraction from maybe some pain that is going on in their lives. I mean, I remember one gig I did in Lincoln last year. There was a man like really literally crying in the audience, and that really touched me. For some reason, my music allowed him to release that pain, and that is so special. So I just wanted to say like thank you so much to anyone who's willing to listen to my music and to follow me and my progress and my musical career. I'm really honored, and well, thank you so much.
Joelle, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for having me.